it's Shannon, aka QB Crossing, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be working on terraforming some river mouths, and as you can see where my pinpoint is, we are working on the right side of my island. I actually have two south-facing river mouths, and it's been a fun challenge for me, so I decided that I wanted to start off by working on one of these, and I was going to just place a bridge to begin with to keep it pretty simple, and then figure out the terraforming around it after I have that placed. So all I'm doing now is just bringing this water out a bit more so that I have more space to work with. Then I just place the stone bridge, and once I had that placed, I thought it'd be really cool to have another bridge behind it but on a second level. So I'm terraforming a cliff now, and I really want to try to get a diagonal bridge behind this. I don't know exactly how it's going to work out in the moment, but I'm just terraforming and giving myself enough space to work with, and then I'm going to start waterscaping on top of it and finding the right spot for where that second bridge could go. I think since river mouths can either be really simple, just put a bridge over it, or you can try to do something a little bit more fun with it, I decided that since we're going all out doing a speed build, I wanted to try something a little bit different, and I do want to get that second bridge in there. I think that visually it will look a lot more interesting, and I think that we can actually just do something really fun with this small space that we have. So I'm now terraforming a little bit of water, and I'm just trying to get the dimensions right for a diagonal bridge. So I always start off with like a little bit of a rough terraforming sketch with those little squares on each side, and then I just really finesse it so that the bridge will actually work when I try to put it down. So as you can see, I'm trying to get a diagonal bridge really close to the edge of this cliff. This way you can really see it on all views, and I decided that I just needed a little bit more space behind because those diagonal bridges can be really just sort of picky, and they will not place if you are even one square off. So I need to give myself a little bit more room, and then I'm going to get that bridge placed and see how it looks once it's all there. So just fixing up that terraforming, getting back up here, and now that we can add a little bit more space here, I think we should be able to get the perfect spot for the stone bridge, which is really what obviously I'm aiming for here. So just pulling this out a bit more, I get very just in my head whenever I am waterscaping, and I'll move things over one tile here or there just because it feels so permanent whenever you place something that I want to make sure I'm right. But now we have it, and I do really like how it looks, but it needs a lot of terraforming work. So that's what I'm doing now, just going through, fixing up some of my waterscaping, and then I'm gonna fix up all the terraforming around it. So I'll let you guys watch a little bit while I do some terraforming, and then I'll be back to talk about more of my process, and we'll get into some decorating. So now that I did a lot of terraforming to give myself a lot of space to work with, I realized that I wanted to have a little waterfall behind the bridge so that the water that's underneath the bridge has something to flow into. I always find with bridges, it's nice to either have them flow into a larger body of water or a waterfall on each side, depending on where your bridge is. So this kind of worked out for me because I did want to add another layer of terraforming to this space, so it just really worked out for what I wanted to do. Now that I feel good about the overall terraforming, I always go through and start adding some trees. I find that for me, trees are almost like fencing because it helps me stay inside of an area, and it really just helps with the overall composition that I'm working with. It just gives me something to work in between, and it also helps me see what spots of the overall build maybe need a little bit more height, maybe need some more natural elements. So since trees are I would say probably the tallest item I'm going to work with here besides a house or a silo or anything like that, they're always the first things that I put down because everything else will just work within that. So once I have a couple of trees placed, I do want to start with my pathing just to get a feel for what kind of pathing I want to use in this area. So since this is a very natural space, I decided to go with the dirt pathing because I think it actually works really nicely with the stone, and all my other paths are just either brick or stone pathing. So I just think it adds a little bit of contrast since the stone would be a little bit too much and then the brick would just not really match quite the way I want it to. So as I go through here, I'll just be adding some little pathing here and there, some one tile stones I am going to be using. But this also, just like the same thing with the trees, this helps me just fill in the space, and the pathing really is a big part of any area, at least for me. So I like to get that done as soon or as early in the build as possible because the decorating is really what comes last for me. So I kind of have the overall idea in my head of what I want these filler areas to look like, but I will just be kind of going through here and adding in like some pumpkins. I am in the fall season, so I have been using pumpkins everywhere, and they work really nicely because, especially for filler areas, they feel almost as simple as just adding a flower. They don't add too much to the space, so it just kind of works out for what I'm trying to do. So as I go through here, I am just really filling in spaces before I figure out what to do with the top level, but it does help me a lot just to kind of see everything coming together, and I like to path and decorate as I go before I do any larger decorations to the area. So I'm just gonna go in, fill in some more of these little small spaces, and then I'll be back to talk about what I'm gonna do on the top level. Once I decided to come up to the second level and figure out what I was going to do up here, I realized that it would be nice to have 2 villager houses up on the top to really add more vertical height to the space, but it also just works nicely for a little villager neighborhood since we have the bridge in between their houses, and I think it will just make a really nice view once you're on that bridge passing over, seeing those houses in the distance. So I did have to add a little bit more cliff space to the left and right of these builds just so that each of the villagers could have more of a yard. So what do you know, this speed build is turning into another villager decorating a speed build, but I really am happy with how it came out, and I needed to place some more villager houses anyway, so I feel like this is a really good spot for some houses. So I'm really just going to go through, fix up any terraforming that needed to be expanded, and then we're going to start decorating the second level and some of these houses as well. I want to always start with my pathing before I get too far into decorating. So I'm going to continue this dirt pathing like I did everywhere else in the build, and I'm just going to really decorate around it. I think we'll continue with some more just natural elements like flowers and bushes and almost like filler spaces in a way. But for the villager houses, they will have some more items so that it feels a little bit more decorated like their yards. But I do want to also go through and decorate just this one small part of the cliff that is between the two houses. I'm not going to go too crazy with all of the cliff space behind the houses because I don't want to make this speed build extremely long, but I wanted to do enough so you could get the gist of what I planned on doing there. And now it's really just about filling in each of these villager yards, giving them a little something personal to them, giving them something that makes it feel really kind of homey and nice. So I do that throughout the elements and items that I choose, like garden wagons and tiny libraries, things that just match their house, but I can also see that actual villager liking. So I ended up putting like a pumpkin and some more flowery elements by Renee's house, and I'm also going to just go through and add more little details as I go along. And then as I'm starting to like see the space come together, I think it becomes more about how can I fill everything in and what can I do without just using the same items over and over again. So I'll go back and forth between like placing flowers and placing actual items and pathing, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm really liking how Renee's house looks. It's simple, but it's still really cute, and I feel that it just fits the overall theme. And then for Anchovy, I decided it would be really cute to see some clotheslines in the background there and giving him a really overgrown vibe as well. So just going through here, maybe I'll add like a wooden bucket and some other things just to fill up the space. And I do find that it's really important to decorate the front of the cliff since you are going to see that as you're passing the river mouth on the bottom level. So I'll go through, just kind of play around with whatever items are feeling right for the area. And I'm just going to continue to decorate, and then I'll be back in just a second to talk about the final build. Okay, so here we are in the final build. We successfully decorated our river mouths, and I really like having this kind of double bridge here. We have a straight across bridge and a diagonal bridge. I did just enough decorating so you could get the sense of how I want the pathing on each side to look. And I love that you could see the houses in the distance there. We are going to add an incline at some point. I'm not sure where exactly I want to put it yet, but I want to just take a look at some of the villager decorations. So we have Renee's house with some flowery elements, we have the tiny library and some pumpkins. Then you cross over this bridge to anchovies, and super simple, but I think all of the brown elements just really tie everything together. And I'm just really kind of enjoying how this came out. It was really kind of a random thought in the middle of the build, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I had so much fun working on this. Let me know what else you'd like to see, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!